You guys know what my favorite word in the English language is? Non-reactive. Now, some of the children among us might be going, What do you want about? So what does that mean? Some of the adults among us are going, Look, long story short, last night received some troubling news. Got a blood test this morning, and folks, let's just say we beat all the charges. Hell, even found out I don't have diabetes as a bonus, which feels inevitable, not gonna lie, given I'm a fine connoisseur of juice and all things sugary. But folks, I figured I'd share this with you guys, my Genshin Impact friends. Okay, folks, time to regroup. Zibai may have just answered one of the oldest mysteries in Genshin Impact Lore, which is, what is the Inverted City? A mysterious nation said to be older than Khaenri'ah, deep within the chasm.
No wonder the Abyss Order doesn't want him around.
Not necessarily. The closer we draw, the more I am inclined to conclude that these ruins belong to a more ancient civilization still. The Abyss Order simply got to them before anyone else.
Even older than Khaenri'ah? Whoa, Paimon can't even imagine back that far.
That said, the architecture here does somewhat resemble that of Khaenri'ah. At least, it would if it were the other way up.
For nearly 4 years, we hadn't a clue what this nation was and simply had this quote and this description to go on. Quote, "As I was traveling alone, I discovered this vast and terrible ruin. Perhaps this is all that remains of an ancient civilization that was punished and destroyed. This ancient city seems to resist the presence of any outsiders. It might even have something to do with those purple-black crystals or that mud-like substance. I stayed for a time, but I had to leave its ominous upended silhouette behind. But folks, now we may just know what this nation was thanks to Zibai, so let's get into it. To start, we know roughly when Khaenri'ah was founded, it should be around the end of the fall of Salvanir, as Ukko's dying words were, quote, "I've heard of people who are building a new nation without gods. Perhaps they'll have the power to stand against this world." Now, given what caused the fall of Salvanir was a celestial nail, and every single source bar the Moon Sisters agree the nails fell after the War of Funerary Flame, Nabu Malikatas tells us, quote, "And though the invaders wrought war to my former kin, they also brought about illusions that could break through shackles to the land. But the Master of the Heavens, consumed by fear for the rising tide of delusion and breakthroughs, sent down the divine nails to mend the land, laying waste to the mortal realm." This would indicate Khaenri'ah was founded around that time, which makes sense if you think about it, right? After the war, there was a big war between one godly powered being and the heavenly principles, the epitome of strength, the mother and father to all gods, reason and all things good, squaring off against, one borrowing godly powers, using crack, giving him crackhead strength. They destroyed the world. So you can imagine a group of people on the ground, just going, well, fuck all this god shit. We need a new nation away from all this. So, so that's Khaenri'ah. But if Khaenri'ah was founded after the War of Funerary Flame, and this nation in the chasm is said to be older than it, this means it's a nation that must have existed during the time of divine envoys, also known as angels. Folks, the unified civilization, the first civilization to ever exist in the heavenly principles, Teyvats. Think Ankanomiya, which this nation in the chasm has extremely similar architecture to. So, what nation is the Inverted City? Well, how strange is it Zibai has now just name-dropped an ancient Liyue civilization that existed when the Three Moons existed, which, remember, they were destroyed in the War of Funerary Flame, and this nation, furthermore, she, as an angel, once presided over before a certain catastrophe befell them.
Long, long ago, 3 moons hung high in the heavens. Bathed in their light was an ancient nation called Langan. Langan was home to a divine envoy who bestowed nature's bounty upon the land, and in return, the nation worshipped her. But then, in a twist of fate, the moons shattered, and Langan fell to ruin. Unable to bear it, the envoy sheltered what people she could, guiding them east, toward a new place to call home. Yet in doing so, she defied heaven's will and was cast into a celestial prison as punishment.
Long gone. Yeah, long gone is fucking right. Deserve punishment. Focus on the mission, Angel. Now, this all fits perfectly with the narrative we've established thus far. Long Gone existed during the time of the unified civilization, as evidenced by the fact that the 3 moons are high in the sky. Then tragedy struck. That would, of course, be Nibelung, returning, souped up on the abyss. Crackhead. Kicking off the War of Funerary Flame, which is the biggest tragedy strike the world of Teyvat has ever known. It ruined everything.
The Dragon King acquired the power of darkness from outside of this world, and led us in a fight against the order established by the outsiders.
Dragon King?
An unimaginable war took place in Teyvat, causing destruction on an unprecedented scale. The world itself was on the verge of collapse.
And much like how Ankonomia sunk beneath the earth, this could explain how Long Gone became the upside-down nation of the chasm, with the answer simply being war. This all fits perfectly, and I'm incredibly inclined to believe it, but there's a couple things that irk me about all this. The first being the celestial nail in the chasm. Why is it Zibai never brought this up? If Long Gone is, said nation, now maybe it's because, she was telling the story to a kid and didn't want to get into all the nitty-gritty, but, what's the timeline for the nail striking versus Long Gone sliding into the chasm? Because we know the chasm being formed was an event all on its own that could have been separate from the destruction of It was in the War of Funerary Flame, but, I don't think Long Gone sliding in caused the chasm, as the way the chasm was formed had something to do with the solar chariot falling at the same time, again, as the War of Funerary Flame. Quote, "In a past beyond memory, even when Rex Lapis would have still been young, a star fell from the sky into the barren plains west of Liyue. These plains were transformed into a huge and deep chasm. In the wake of that star's descent, and jade would emerge from within, beautiful and limitless. It would become the foundation for 1,000 years of industrial mining in Liyue thereafter. And as for the timing of this event, quote, it is said that Rex Lapis was still young. The sun was a chariot that raced across the earth. When the 3 sisters of the night sky were martyred in a calamity, the solar chariot fell into a deep gorge." So this is obviously the War of Funerary Flame. But what does the timing look like here? Between the solar chariot falling and creating the chasm, Long Gone sinking into it, and the celestial nail striking? It's all a bit unclear. The final question I have regarding all this is, despite the legend stating that this nation was punished by the heavens who used the divine nail to punish the nations, why is it Zibai never once framed this as an act of retribution, only simply stating tragedy struck while specifically showing the moons being destroyed, which we know was brought about by Nibelung's war?
But then, in a twist of fate, the moons shattered, and Long Gone fell to ruin.
She never once frames this as an act of divine punishment. The moons being shattered, yes, they were shattered by the heavenly principles, but let's not forget, the moons were turned into weapons by Nibelung after coming back souped up on the abyss. This is yet another case in point that I don't believe the nails were used as divine punishment, or if they were, then Zibai will surely have a lot to tell us during Lantern Rites.